So to begin with, as she's already mentioned, the title of my project is Development of a 3D Printed Intranasal Drug Delivery Device. My supervisors, Dr. Alice Forden, Dr. David White, and Dr. Jim Bartley. Now, before I move on into my presentation, I will just give you a quick overview of what I'm trying to emphasize here. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that we need a nasal drug delivery device, especially after post-sinus surgery, okay? There are a lot of adjunctive devices out there currently in the market, but they have limitations. Now, we are trying to overcome those limitations, so hopefully you'll be attentive and listen to me at the same time. And I hope the title or the introduction is not too boring. And plus, this project is using the main theme as a 3D printing. As such, because 3D printing is an emerging technology in the medical and drug delivery field, there is a considerable intellectual property for this research. Now, to begin with, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction about the human nose. When we look at the human nose at a face value, we all think that we use it for breathing. But actually, the nose is much more complex than that. We have these nasal cavity within our facial features that are all around our head, okay? So I will show you a diagram later about that. Now, the nose's main function is that it provides airway homeostasis and olfaction. It also provides first-line immunologic defense. And at the same time, we have mucus layer and hair follicles that are lined within our nasal cavity. And obviously, that helps in trapping the pathogens and removed by mucociliary clearance. Now, however, the nose is not superhuman. It's obviously going to be predisposed to infectant, microorganism, and allergens. Now, when that happens, it leads to infection and inflammation. So that causes disease like rhinosinusitis, and then allergic rhinitis and rhinitis. Now, next, I'm just going to show you a diagram. This will probably give you a better picture of how your nose looks like. So on the inside of your facial feature. So you can see we have the healthy sinus and the inflamed sinus, the frontal sinus, the ethmoid sinus, and your maxillary sinus, okay? So what happens when you have inflammation, you can see that it gets inflamed over here, and then you can see there's nasal obstruction. At the same time, you can see there is a thick mucus that is contained over there in the particular area. Now, infection causes all this, and that's why you can feel that sometimes you do not have, when you get sinus, you feel like you cannot breathe as well, because it leads to reduction of sense of smell as well. And it can also lead to, you can feel the facial pressure or pain during sinus. Now, we are going to be concentrating on CRS. That is also caused by inflammation of the paranasal sinus and the sinus mucosa. Now we have prolonged obstruction of osteometal complex here, okay? And just to go back, I'll just show you the diagram. That's the prolonged inflammation, so that caused blockage over there. That's the osteometal complex. Okay, you have mucociliary dysfunction because these mucus cannot come out of here. And at the same time, it lasts for about 12 weeks or longer. Now, CRS is diagnosed either by endoscopic surveillance or by CT scan procedures. Now, that is how we diagnose it, and mostly that's what the surgeons would tell you about how they diagnose your CRS. Now, next we're going to move into CRS are of two types. One is with polyps and one is without nasal polyps. Now, the one with polyps are bulb-like structure, which you will see here, and is found in the nasal cavity or in the osteometal complex. So as such, it's very uncomfortable for patients during CRS. And we have current strategies right now. What are the strategies available right now to patients? We have medical strategies, that is antibiotic, nasal irrigation, topical nasal steroid, and oral steroid. Now, these are all done to help you with treating your infection and inflammation. But some patients are unresponsive to them, and that leads to surgery. Now, why? Why are patients unresponsive to medical treatment? That is because it fails to target the infected anatomic site due to inflammation, of course. And then we have low therapeutic efficiency, which will require large dose, and we have to take it frequently, leading to obviously side effects. Now, why surgery? Why we need surgery? Surgery is effective in many ways. So, first, it helps in removing the infected, swollen, or damaged tissue, okay? It can even remove the bone. So when we remove the bone, it helps in mucus drainage, and that helps you to breathe, be able to get away from the infection. It also, you remember the bulb-like structure that I showed you? That is only removable with the help of surgery, which makes it very important for patients who are suffering from this disease. Now, surgery in itself is a difficult procedure. Look at our nose, it's so small. So obviously, for the surgeon to go inside that and do all these surgery, it's a very difficult procedure for them, which obviously cause complications. And we have to hand it out to them. That is quite difficult to do, but they do it. So, what is a complication? Failure to resolve the infection, okay? And then bleeding and pain. Obviously, every surgery would cause that. Then we have chronic nasal drainage, and then reduction and loss of sense of smell. Now, this is a very rare case. Don't get scared for sinus surgery. We do have damage to the eye or base of the skull, but it's very rare. I'm not saying that you guys should not get a sinus surgery. Okay, next. Now in the market, what is really important after surgery is post-surgery care. And right now, currently in the market, there is these adjunctive devices that I've mentioned before, and these are the ones available. So it's elastic splint, absorbable packing, and non-absorbable spacers. Now, these are mainly there to promote wound healing and to improve patient outcome. But the problem is that these are not 100% curable. Like, they do not help with the post-outcome surgery, and they do have limitations. So I'm just going to talk about the limitations to further enhance on why we need what I mentioned about. So we have elastic splints and spacer. Now, the problem with these is that in elastic splints, after your surgery, the surgeon is going to suture it up your nose. And nobody wants that, right? It's made out of a thin plastic, and it's going to hurt your nose if you put that in. And the problem is that you have to remove it again after surgery. So that itself causes rebleeding and patient discomfort, at a whole new level. And then we have adhesion are not reduced just by these devices. So we have to do nasal irrigation every day. So you can imagine going to the bathroom every day and trying to, put that nasal irrigation up your nose. It's very inconvenient for patient. Then we have manual cleaning by antibiotic ointments. That also is difficult for patient. Now, when I talk about absorbable packing, everybody knows the meaning of absorbable. It's going to be absorbed up right the nose. Okay, cool, that's cool. But we have intensive saline doses that are mandatory for these. And it becomes quite inconsistent for patients as well. And you have adhesion formation without intensive saline doses. And obviously, after surgery, we need to have a therapeutic drop up there after your surgery to help with the wound healing. But because these absorbable packing do not produce sustained release of drug, it leads to inconsistent drug release. Okay? So what do we need? What do we require? What do patients want? And what do surgeons want? They want something that is a nasal drug-eluting scaffold. Now, why do we need that? Because it's biodegradable. Even more better, no need to remove after the surgery. It just poofs off, disappear. And then we have sustained precise drug release to target the infected anatomic site for long-term effectiveness. That is like a blessing indeed, especially for a person who has sinus. I know, because I have it. And it provides structural support, and at the same time, it has more of a patient acceptability because it'll provide them comfort. Okay? Now, significance of this is that if you have to go for a sinus surgery, those who have had sinus surgery, after a year you have to have a revised surgery. So the cost per procedure is expensive, especially in New Zealand. Look at the cost. It's about, it's about that much. That's a lot of money. Now, this significance of this device is that it would promote wound healing at the same time, relieve an obstruction, and it will reduce post-operative scar while giving drug to the particular infected anatomic site. At the same time, there's no need for removal, which is a benefit, additional benefit. Now, our objective for this project is to create a 3D printed drug-eluting scaffold. Over here, obviously, it'll be biodegradable, and it will expand within the patient's nose, within the nasal wall. So it'll fit the space. And it will act as a support and dressing. And at the same time, the drugs embedded in the polymer will release a sustained drug release throughout the infected anatomic site. To further explain that, I'm going to talk about the benefits of 3D printing. How many of you here in this room know what 3D printing is? Please raise your hand. Great. There's a lot of people. Okay. So 3D printing is quite well known now. It's an emerging technology. It's even there in the food industry. So 3D printing in the medical field in 2015, the first 3D printed drug sputum was produced. And sputum is actually beneficial for the patient because of the macro and micro-size structure that 3D printing allow us. It helps to put in a huge therapeutic dose in a particular tablet that parental dosage cannot do. And then it is low cost and efficient. Yay for us researcher, we need that. And flexible and fabrication capability enable us to make a customized design scaffold. And we can play around with the geometry. And the human body is not simple. We have so much of complexity, and 3D printing can help us with that. Overcome the flexibility in, hey, we have a device that fits into our geometrical shape perfectly. Now, precise deposit and release of the therapeutic drug into the infected anatomic site. Like I said before, because of the presence, because we can put in large dosage, and we know exactly what we want, and we can put that in 3D printing. So next, I'm going to show you an MRI scan, and this is the nasal cavity. Now, can you see how small over there that is? That's complex, right? It is really complex. Now, think about it. Do you think you can put something up there and not hurt your nose? Obviously, it's going to hurt, especially after surgery. So we need 3D printing. We really need it because it's going to help us to put a microstructure there, and you won't even feel it. Imagine that. That's a beautiful concept. And then on top of that, you'll be releasing the drug at a consistent pace. And then you don't even have to worry about standing in the bathroom and trying to do your douches. You don't have any of that. All that is a solution. And it's even more beneficial because this will help the patient to accept, and it'll be really good. And plus, at the same time, long-term effectiveness. Yay, no more sinus surgery for a while. So my methodology is I will design the device. We will design the device. We'll print it, and we'll undergo a physiochemical characterization. Now, when we design the device, we will use a software called as a computer-aided software. And with the help of AUT biomedical scientists, bioengineers, and a surgeon, we will design in such a way that it fits into the nasal cavity. As you can see, that is complex. So obviously, the design is going to be complex as well. And after that, we're going to look at the various polymers that we will use. After that, we will also look at the biocompatibility and the biodegradability of the polymer. And after that, we're going to print it and incorporate it with the drug required. Now, this will be printed with the help of fused deposition modeling, that is FDM. Now, next on, we will do a physiochemical characterization. That's important so that we know the difference between the polymer and the drug and their interaction. Now, DSC will help us, as you can see, that's a DSC. It will help us to look at the thermal gradation, and it'll help to look at the degradation thermal transition, the degradation, and the crystallization of the drug and the polymer. SEM will help us to obtain the images of both the drug and the polymer so we can look at the composition. Now, FTIR will help us to see the interaction between the drug and the polymer. And XRD, we will get a crystalline picture, crystalline images of the drug and the polymer at an atomic or molecular level to look at the dissolution level. Now, we're going to go for the methodology. In vitro assessment of the device performance is important because we want as a surrogate for our in vivo performance. It will help us to give a guide formulation development for drug release profile. Now, it will be carried out in a physiological stimulated environment, and we will also detect the drug concentration for the release profile with the help of HPLC. Last but not the least, we're going to do a degradation profile just to see that it absorbs at a particular time frame that we need. And after all of this is done, we will look forward to an animal study. Okay? Now, I would like to acknowledge my drug delivery team at AUT and Biodesign Lab. And this is just a summary slide. I'm going to leave it up there for everyone to read. And well, that's about it. Thank you so much for attending my presentation. Any questions, please?
Thank you, Lily. Right. It was a very informative presentation. Thank you. So the stage is open for your questions.
Right.
Will this be designed so that it's customized to each and every patient?
So like I said, it's structurally expandable. That's the beauty of it. So you put it up anyone's nose, because all of our noses are different. So we put it up anyone's nose and poof, it expands by itself, hits the wall, and it says, hey, I'm healing you. Yep, so that's what it does. Yeah.
What animal? Something that's...
So we are probably going to look at either rats or rabbit, but we've not formulated that so far. Yeah, yeah, quite tiny.
Thanks, Larry. That's
Yeah.
a really interesting
Thank you.
presentation. I've got two questions
Yep,
for you.
sure.
One is, has this been done before?
So this has not been done before. This is completely new, with 3D printing, that is. Now, out there is something known as a propel sinus implant, but it is different and is only allowed in the US, but you can go ahead and look at it, read it up, but not with 3D printing. So this will be quite novel, actually.
So it's adding
Yeah,
3D
yeah,
printing, that
yeah.
makes sense. And secondly, can you see further applications for this? You're talking about
Yeah.
the sinuses,
Yeah.
but perhaps there's other
Yes, I think the
areas.
possibility is great because especially with 3D printing, we can do so much with it, and it just doesn't have to be with sinus, but hey, we can start off with this and see how it goes. Yep, thank you. Any other question? Yes.
In terms of comfort level,
Yeah.
because the nasal area is quite sensitive,
Yeah.
how are you going to guarantee that?
So that's what I said, it structurally expands. So once it hits the wall, it stops expanding. And once it stops expanding, you won't even feel that it's present there. That's the benefit of this, because we want something that, because right now what's available out there in the market will make you feel, make you know that it's there. But this, because it's structurally expandable and because the polymer is it's not a really tough substance as well, so you will not be able to feel it, and that's how you get the patient comfort.
And just quickly, what do you foresee the side effects would be?
So the side effects will obviously depend on when we do the test, but as far as I can tell, because we know what dose we want to do, because you already have that particular dose that you're already taking right now. So if we put that particular dose into the device, I see if you don't have a problem with it before, you will not have a problem with it now. Yep. Yes.
I also have two questions. Firstly, if it's
Yeah.
biodegradable, how do you stop it from degrading as soon as you put it in there?
Now that's the thing. We are going to do a degradation test, so we will see how long it lasts, and depending on that, we can give you a time estimate. As of right now, I can't tell you what. So yeah, we have to go through with that first.
And I forgot my other question.
That's okay, that's all right. Well, you can get back to me once this is done and you remember it. Any other questions?
I think the
Okay.
last question I will ask
Yes.
about, do you have any numbers about the intranasal surgery that's make you to study on
Okay.
these 3D ones?
Yes. So currently there was a study done in New Zealand where about 509 cases were taken, and out of those 509 cases, 21% was on sinus surgery in New Zealand itself. So that is pretty much a good number.
So is it 500 per year?
21%. So this 509 cases that were taken was over a span of time that they were doing the study. Yep. So 21% was out of that. So yep. And CRS is a common disease for everyone else in the world. So when we do this, it'll not only be for New Zealand, it'll be a worldwide application, which will actually be really beneficial for everyone in the long run. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right.